Our soil is dying. Our soil is the greatest climate action threat that nobody is talking about. Soil loss by erosion is a global threat that is reducing the productivity of agricultural land usage and damaging natural ecosystems. A combination of soil erosion, water availability, and fossil fuel-induced climate change is resulting in a massive loss in biodiversity and eutrophication of land and water bodies. With 99.7% of all calories humans consume from food being derived from the land, and with the world population set to pass 9 billion by 2050, the emphasis on maintaining and improving global food supply is dependent on the productivity and quality of agricultural soils. Soil erosion can lead to the abandonment of agricultural land and reduce the productivity of that land. This often leads to the artificial addition of nitrogen and phosphate fertilizers. Along with this, soil erosion reduces the biodiversity of plants, animals, and microorganisms living within the soil. The erosion occurs when the soil is exposed to the rain and wind. The accumulation of tiny rain droplets loosen the upper soil particles, allowing the soil to be moved downhill. The steeper the land is, the more intense the erosion will become. There are many other factors that influence the erosion rate of soils, including the structure of the soil itself. Those of a finer texture with low organic matter contents are most easily eroded. However, lands covered with plants, whether living or dead, allow for the soil to be most resistant to erosion due to the plant roots and structures holding the top layer of soil together. To prevent serious erosion and landslides in forested areas, there must be a minimum of 60% land coverage throughout the forest. The ever-increasing destruction of these forests for agricultural usage is accompanied by an increase in intensive soil erosion. Erosion rates can vary from as low as 0.001 tons per hectare per year on flat grass or forested covered land, to between 1 to 5 tons per hectare per year in mountainous regions. The displaced soil is fed by the great rivers such as the Nile, Ganges and Mississippi, which can form deltas as they enter the ocean. Worldwide, 75 billion tons of fertile soil are lost each year. Current loss rates in China estimate that the food production rate will fall by as much as 40% over the next 50 years as a result. Cropland is the most affected land type when it comes to erosion. 80% of the world's agricultural land suffers from moderate to severe erosion, the average loss rate being around 30 tons per hectare per year, but can be increased to as much as 400 tons per hectare per year. The movement of soil takes with it biological and economically beneficial products with it, resulting in the abandonment of vast areas of cropland. Currently, 1.5 billion hectares of land are under crop cultivation. However, more than 2 billion hectares have been abandoned by humans since farming practices began. So what are the effects of soil erosion on the terrestrial ecosystem? Soil erosion most generally decreases the productivity of the terrestrial ecosystem. It does this by increasing the water runoff, which has the effect of decreasing the water storage capacity of the soil. Along with this, the composition of the soil is changed. The abundance of organic matter and important nutrients for growth are removed and the depth of the soil is reduced. The eroded soils are up to 3 times more nutrient dense than the soils left behind. To offset this loss, farmers apply large quantities of fertilizers onto their cropland, fueling a multi-billion-dollar industry. How does soil erosion affect the soil biota and biodiversity? The biological diversity within the soil is directly related to the amount of organic matter present. As mentioned, erosion reduces the abundance of organic matter, thus reducing the biological activity of the soil. This then has a major impact on the diversity of plants, microbes and animals that can be supported by the soil. Productive soil can have a biomass of insects and microorganisms of up to 10,000 kilos per hectare. In Japan, spreading manure on grassland plot tests doubled the abundance of arthropods in the soil, and increased by 10 times on plots in Hungary. The eroded soil particles enter watercourses and accumulate downstream. This buildup of matter can ultimately lead to flooding of rivers and lakes, as well as polluting the aquatic life due to the particles of soil containing fertilizers and pesticides. There are many soil erosion mitigation practices used around the world. All techniques use different forms of protecting the land from the rain and wind. This can be achieved by either leaving crop residue after harvest or by undersowing crop with a coverage plant. The threat of soil erosion is one of the greatest environmental problems this world is facing. Along with the soil, the loss of organic matter, water, nutrients, and soil biota threatens future food security. Soil conservation practices are inexpensive and require little to no specialist equipment. With the potential to save millions of lives from malnourishment, we must save our soil.